Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Retirement. Today is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, and the time is 9:01 a.m. We will go through all of the official legal elements right now. So I'll pass this over to Bonnie.
Thank you. This meeting is being held virtually and in person, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Trustee Knox?
Good morning, I'm here.
Trustee Gray? Morning. Trustee Santos?
Here.
Trustee Sanchez?
Good morning. Here.
Trustee Oakham? Trustee Oakham is not participating today, as well as Mr. Robbins. Ms. Greenwood? Trustee Jason Green is also not participating today. Trustee Harris?
Here.
Trustee Bernstein?
I'm here.
And Chair Kehoe.
Thank you.
Staff participating in the meeting include CEO Santos Kryman, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, Assistant Executive Officers JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Investment Officer John Grable, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Senior Staff Counsel Frank Boyd, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu. Staff and managers participating today include Carly Natoya, Kathy Delino, Ted Granger, Cassandra Smith, Louis Gittins, Vincent Lim, Ricky Contreras, Tamara Caldwell, Vicki Neely, Carrie Wilson, Hernan Barrientos, and Ricardo Salinas, as well as LACERA'S medical advisor, Dr. Glenn Arisman. Trustees, please use the raise your hand Zoom option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute their mics until you are ready to speak. And now we may proceed with the agenda.
Great, and thank you. And just for the record, JP Harris will be a voting member today, as well as myself. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to a Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Harris, will you please lead us? Ready?
Start with me.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That brings us to the teleconference meeting agenda procedures and Mr. Rice.
Good morning. I don't think we have any requests under AB 2449 today, but I did want to point out that in the memo for this item, the second page, there's a chart comparing the various teleconference methods, which was provided to you in response to trustee requests that were made at the February meeting. So you can use that memo as a tool for comparing the three methods, although the COVID method is no longer relevant at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That moves us to item 4, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 1st, 2023. I'll need a motion for that.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Let's please do a vote.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray? Aye. Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein? And Chair Kehoe.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us to our public comment period. We do have one request online to speak, so we will go ahead and admit.
Great. We do have one request from Ingrid Day. Miss Day, if you can enter *6 to unmute yourself, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board. If you can confirm that you hear this announcement.
I do hear the announcement.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And you may begin.
Thank you so much. So the entire situation I've experienced, it's had an adverse effect on me emotionally, and it's also taken a physical toll because of it. As children, we're told a myth: you get what you give. I can say the level of attention, including compassion, I received from Bonnie Noli, JJ Popovich, David Baya from LACERA, actually makes that theory true. No one cares what has caused the situation that I'm in except me. The Board of Supervisors, my former employer, the Child Support Services Department, cared not. What caused me to land in the predicament that I'm in. But I believe that Bonnie, JJ, and David will make every effort, which they actually just emailed me the resolution, will make every effort that another LA County employee's concerns are investigated and resolved in the future by doing just that, investigating what exactly went awry in LACERA'S backyard. I want to express my sincere gratitude for the respectful manner that I have been treated by these 3 LACERA employees and over the years by a gentleman named John. I want it on the record that because, you know, often all you guys get are complaints, but I'm really here to say how wonderful these 3 people are. After more than 12 months of me waiting for my service credit to be accurately represented, after the failing of child support, Sedgwick, and the Board of Supervisors, these 3 people actually gave my concerns value. You know, I feel silly because there's so much awfulness in the world. I feel silly, you know, being upset and having this grievance, you know, this gripe. It seems so small in comparison. But very recently, I signed a settlement for a workers' comp case because of the stress that I have experienced during my employment with the Los Angeles County Child Support Services Department. And then I'm watching the news and I see, you know, the county having to pay out again. And what I can only hope is that the county and the Board of Supervisors gets it together and, you know, realizes that people are human. They all deserve grace and compassion and understanding. And to be allowed to make corrections and accept the fact that they made errors, not to be, you know, attacked and gone for the jugular. I've spent 25 years and 4 months in service to the department. I retired in June 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Can you wrap up your comments, please?
That's it. I just want to say thank you to those individuals from LACERA. And, you know, also if you guys actually care, you can reach out to find out what actually happened. But you didn't care when I was going through it a year ago. But I just hope that you guys understand you have some great employees at LACERA. That's all.
Thank you very much for your comments. And I apologize, yet we're limited to 3 minutes, but I'm going to make sure that staff follows up with us and lets us know what the outcome is on your grievance. So thank you very much.
Who are you?
The chair of the board, Sean Kehoe.
Did you say Kehoe?
Yes, Kehoe.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our executive update. And our first item on that is our LACERA All-Stars.
Good morning, Chair Kehoe and trustees. This is the time when we acknowledge and recognize those staff members who have gone above and beyond as the call of duty in helping members or fellow staff members. So please join me in recognizing Raymond Stone, Judith Cajulis, Kathy Delano, Abraham Reyes, and our web watcher is Clara Lanting.
Congratulations. Thank you. The next one is our member spotlight. I think this is a debut.
This is the debut.
Perfect.
This is a brand new effort that we're undertaking, and that is to recognize LACERA LA County employees for their service. There is a memo for discussion or information in the Operations Oversight Committee, which explains what we put together so far and what we're going to do moving forward. But this month is our first time we're going to recognize a LA County employee for their service. If we'll go to the next slide, please. Can I do that? There we go. Thank you. Norma Duran is our first person to be recognized. She's a staff analyst in the Correctional Health Services. She has been working for the county for 22 years. She plans on retiring in the next 10 to 13 years. The most fulfilling part of her county job is working with a lot of people from different backgrounds, providing them help with anything they need and being able to meet our goals. She comments about her experience with LACERA and what her goals are and what her future retirement goals are, traveling, playing tennis, and going to the gym. As we move forward, we'll provide more information about what their job duties entail when we do this, when we do the recognition, so that we can see exactly how they're serving LA County constituents. But also, I wanted to say that Ms. Duran and the other individuals that were recognized in our member postscript newsletter. So we'll be recognized one individual every meeting going forward. So I'd like to thank Norma for her service and all that she's done for the county. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much. And if there's no objection, we do have an additional public comment. So Bonnie will go ahead and relay that to us.
Yes, we did receive one written comment requesting information and an update on the $1 million cap regarding retiree healthcare. That will be part of the meeting record.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, and thank you very much for the member spotlight. That was great, and I think this will be excellent moving forward for us to see, and for all of us, not just here at the board, but all the staff to remember, who we're all serving. So I appreciate that. That moves us on to our Chief Executive Officer report, Mr. Kryman.
Thank you, Chair Kehoe. Trustees, welcome back. Some of you have been here a couple months or so, and but it's really nice to see at least a quorum, a complete quorum here. So, and those of you that are joining us remotely, appreciate you spending the time with us today. My report's going to be very, very brief. I wanted to just recognize my staff and the trustees, quite frankly, for all their input during the offsite that we had last week. I thought it was a very good meeting. We are in the process of collating all of the input that you all have provided, the feedback, and we're busy trying to put together the strategic plan so that the board can evaluate it, consider it, and we're hopeful that you will approve it in April so that we can move forward. I know that the next step, once the approval of the strategic plan and the vision statement, in particular, the mission statement and our value systems and the guiding principles, are going to be very valuable as we move forward into the action planning team component of it, where we start putting down goals and objectives to execute on the plan that you all approve. And so that's sort of the second phase of the plan. I do want to let you know that I do intend on having a staff-only offsite so that we can work through some of those issues away from the office, away from the phones, and we can completely focus in on coming up with those plans that we will share with you once those are completed. So the strategic plan is moving forward. Member services, I do want to let you all know, and it was in the report that Mr. Cochran retired, our division manager, member services. So at the moment, Mr. Lugo and Mr. Popowich are working with the various section heads to make sure that it's a seamless transition. The division manager positions are in the process of being we're getting exams ready for those. We have 3 vacant division manager positions that we're going to try to fill as quickly as we possibly can going forward. In terms of our efforts with the Chief Technology Officer and the Information Security Officer, I can tell you that we began interviews for the Information Security Officer this week, and we intend on getting through all of those applications by March, and hopefully selecting someone to fill both of those, a couple of individuals to fill those 2 vacant positions moving forward. We continue to work with Mr. Grable and his hiring needs. In terms of the Deputy Chief Investment Officer, we have a lot of candidates, over 240 candidates. We've whittled it down. So we're in the process of scheduling interviews with, I believe, the top 10, the top 8 individuals that have been identified with our recruiter moving forward. So we're in the process of trying to get through that exam as well. The new class will be starting for retirement benefit specialists, like I said, in April. And things are very, very busy in the Member Services Center. We have a full slate of in-person meetings, trying to counsel our members and trying to get them through retirement of March 31st. We also have a very busy virtual calendar. Once we open up new dates, those appointments get gobbled up within 1 or 2 days. And so I encourage all of our members to try to schedule their appointments as quickly as they possibly can. With that, I don't have any other thing to point out. So I'll leave it back to the chair. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. If you have questions, please use the Zoom chat, or not chat, the raise hand, please raise hand. I see none. So thank you very much for your report out. And now we move along to our disability retirement applications on our consent calendar. And we will accept a motion, or I will make a motion for application number 909D, page 1 and page 2 through 935D. I will make that motion.
I'll second.
So moved. Let's go ahead and please vote.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. Next is page 3, fire and lifeguards. This is application 1576B through 1588B. I'll need a motion.
I'll move.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
Chair Kehoe?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. Next is page 4 and 5. It's going to be our general members, FCDs, and this is 249CC through 2508C.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
Chair Kehoe?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. And the final one is page 6, and this is going to be application 4419.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
Chair Kehoe?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us on to our consent items. If there's no objection, we're going to pull item A from the agenda as it no longer applies. So I will need a motion for consent items B through E.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's go ahead and call the roll for consent.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
Chair Kehoe?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Great, thank you. Now we're moving on to item 10, our non-consent items, and we have A, which is our 2023-24 plan year health insurance rate renewals and benefit changes for our LACERA retiree healthcare benefits program. And I believe Ms. Smith will be taking it from here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm happy to report that we have finalized our 23-24 premium renewals. We've concluded with an overall renewal increase of 4.6%. That's an increase of 2.1. That's a decrease, I'm sorry, of 2.1 percent off of the preliminary proposals that we received from the carriers, which was 6.7. Our renewal negotiations without the decrease in the Medicare Part B would have been an overall of 5.7. So we did fare well this year again. During this year's renewal process, we saw that our plans had also returned back to the pre-pandemic years as far as utilization. And so staff and Siegel were extremely happy that our negotiations were in single-digit increases again this year. The overall medical portion was 4.7, and the dental vision portion was 3.5 increase. We're asking that your board approve decreasing the admin fee back down to $8. During this year's renewal process, we actually had a chance to analyze the admin fee, and the actual cost actually remained just below the $8 per member per plan. And that we have a balance of over 15 million that we will utilize in the event that it does peak over that $8 during this plan year. We're also collaborating with the county to negotiate a memorandum of agreement. That way we'll be able to document the desired level of the administrative fee as to when we should increase it or leave it the same. But this will be in coordination and agreement with the county. We will be bringing that memorandum of agreement back to your board for consideration by the end of the fiscal year of 23 this year. And that's it, unless there's questions.
Thank you so much. I'll just say, although obviously nobody wants to see any rate increase, this is an excellent outcome compared to others, and also just compared to general CPI data and everything else. So kudos to you, our consultant. I really appreciate all the effort and energy on this one. And if Mr. Oakham was here, he would be jumping up and down in celebration as well. Okay, Mr. Knox.
Thank you. Yeah, excellent work and really impressive. Just curious, what was the overall rate change the prior year? Just as a comparison, I know it's not always apples to apples.
Bonnie, can you bring up
1%?
slide 134 in the PDF package?
Maybe I missed it in the packet.
Oh, no, it's very deep in there.
Yeah.
Cassandra does a great job of summarizing a lot of detail and doing it efficiently, but the overall report does have some exhibits in there that I think will provide some context for you.
Okay.
All right, so that's not going, that number's not working for me. PDF number 128.
Yes, 128.
Really? I have no idea where we're at then.
It's just showing the page.
Siegel page 21.
Yeah.
In the RFP report.
Okay, one moment.
Sorry. Yeah. So when we get to that chart, what it'll show is kind of the historic changes over time, over a 3-year period of time with regard to your various carriers, Anthem, Cigna, Kaiser Scan, UHC, and we also have the Medicare Part B premium. And I actually wanted to highlight that because when we do see that exhibit, you'll notice that the Part B for the standard premium rate has increased 7.2%. 12.8% last year, and that was in relationship to some of the concerns about the Alzheimer's medication that might be available. Subsequently changed to a pilot, and so there's some reduction this year, but I'd say in the future, the Medicare Part B standard premium rate is likely to continue increasing. So again, we might not have that kind of windfall, if you will, this year, but we've also kind of offset that in prior years. So I think we're in a good position, and I think all the vendors have been really good partners with LACERA, both not only in this renewal, but also in the past.
Thank you. Yeah, I see it on page 21 of your packet now. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Sorry about that, Bonnie.
Where's Mr. Bernstein?
So I agree with all the comments. It's good to be back. Thank you for bringing, it's an increase, but the absence of pain here feels pretty good. And I'm happy to move both staff recommendations.
Okay, moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional comments? Seeing none, let's go ahead and please vote.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray? Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
Chair Kehoe.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you very much. And once again, thank you.
Thank you.
That moves us to item B, which is our update on LACERA'S ordinance of positions, retirement benefit specialist 1 and 2, and senior disability retirement specialist. And we will have Dr. Montoya.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to the trustees. We are here to request an increase in the ordinances for 3 classifications. And this request is made quote unquote off cycle. We usually see ordinance increase requests when they are a part of the budget. But because of the timing that it will take to actually get the positions added to our system in order to hire people against them, it takes about 6 months. So we figure if we start now, we'll have the positions available. This is also separate from the budget request. So our budget request is coming forward starting next month. Well, I think it's this month because today is March 1st. So starting in March, we'll start our budget process. So this is a request for ordinance increase only and not exactly the funding as a part of a permanent budget. So the request is to increase the retirement benefit specialist 1, RBS 1 position by 17 positions, to increase the retirement benefits specialist 2 classification by 21 positions, and to increase the senior disability retirement specialist classification by 3 positions. We've heard from Mr. Popovich and Ms. Contreras throughout the year and in our in your board offsite last week.
It was last week.
Thank you. Last week about the predicted and anticipated increase in disability retirement. And we know that there's been an increase in retirement and retirement calls in about the past year or two. So our plan is to increase the number of ordinance positions in order to start hiring greater number of staff members to meet those needs. And there's always a little bit of a lag. So we're starting early in order to realize the gains during the 2023 to 24 fiscal year. So we believe that this will give us the flexibility and be able to give us a pipeline of trainees to meet the needs during the next year. So on page 3 of this memo, there are 2 charts that present our current number of ordinance and then the request for the total, and also a summary of the current number in the ordinance and the budgeted positions and how many are currently vacant.
Mr. Kryman.
Yes. The recommendation was informed, quite frankly, based on what we experienced as a result of the pandemic and our inability to hire and the lead time that it takes to train our benefit specialists. And so most county agencies that I've worked for had always had a number of ordinance positions that was above and beyond the number of funded positions. And so the sheriff department, for example, that has a 1-year training program, I believe it's 1 year for a deputy sheriff, they have a lot of vacant positions, a lot of ordinance positions that are unfunded. And when they need to hire a class, they go and move money around, or they get additional funding from the board of supervisors, and they fund those ordinance items on an ongoing basis. It's true for assessors, it's true for sheriff deputies, it's true for the fire department, it's true for any agency in the county of Los Angeles. And it's just a good business practice to have that. Right now, we don't have that flexibility, and we'd like to build that in. Of course, this board and the Board of Investments will have to provide the funding once we decide to move those positions and get and begin a class. And so it's a way that we can address the lead time for funding for training our staff, and that's what this is for. And so it's good for succession planning purposes as well, and it does provide some career ladder opportunities for some of our staff that may be sitting behind some individuals that are going to retire soon. So we strongly recommend approval of this particular item. It will have to go to the Board of Investments. I just noticed that my report shows the March 8th Board of Retirement meeting. That's the Board of Investment meeting on the subject line or the 4 line. So that is our request, and we're hopeful that you will approve it.
Thank you. Yeah, so 6 months for the deputy program for the academy, but we do have 300 items that are held for that. So I totally agree with you. And normally I would not be a big fan of doing this outside of a budget cycle, but I understand with the pandemic and all of the impacts that has had on us. I totally get it. So I'm overlooking that. But my question is regarding the RBS 1 to 2 pipeline. I want to make sure that we don't end up like with a backlog where we end up getting people stuck at the RBS 1 and not having career opportunities for RBS 2. So looking at that, does this growth address that issue?
I can
Go ahead.
take that. Good morning, Chair Kehoe, trustees. So the RBS 1 for LACERA is really a training position. So they transition. It's a 9-month program. It was a 12-month program. It's a 9-month program now for the benefit specialist. Upon that 9 months, we do open up the RBS 2 positions where those RBS 1s essentially apply for those RBS 2. So we can control that in terms of that transition from RBS 1 to RBS 2, because those RBS 1s are still considered temporary employees for our purposes until they get to the RBS 2 where they're considered permanent. So we are able to control that flow from 1 to 2. Also, to further expand on what Mr. Kryman stated, we talked about in our offsite last week on the counseling positions. So the RBS 1s and RBS 2s tend to be feeders for us for some of the more seasoned benefits positions. And in order for us to have a good pipeline, we're not able to backfill some of our RBS 3s, which are our virtual counselors, our on-site counselors, which then impacts our ability to offer additional appointments, especially during our heightened season of March Madness. So right now we have, I think, 8 to 9 vacancies in our counseling section, and we're not able to pull those team members because they're not fully developed in terms of the skill sets on the job.
So go ahead.
I'm sorry, just one of the things that is part of the strategic plan that we're going to be focusing our attention on has to do with career ladders and development opportunities for our staff, growth opportunities. That once that has been developed, we're going to start looking at the organization and seeing how we can start, maybe reorganizing it so that we do provide better career growth and ladders for our employees, both at the RBS 2 and RBS 3 levels as well. So yes, I think in answer to your question is that our intention is not for these positions, not to have roadblocks in front of them, that they will have career ladder opportunities in the future. I think that once we get everything in place, there would be a better focus and understanding of what it takes to grow into those particular positions and what those needs are.
Perfect. So yeah, that answered my question. Nobody's going to be stuck at the RBS 1 level. They're all going to pipeline in as we have in the past. And then budget, I'm sure this is in the memo, but what's the overall budgetary impact with this?
There is no budgetary impact. These are just ordinance positions. We will bring back the funding for these at a different time, whether it's in the April budget that we're going to be presenting to you, or a June budget that will be before you for approval, or in mid-year.
That's a tricky way of saying we're putting on the credit card. So
Yeah,
what's the overall budgetary impact that this is going to be if we approve it? There has to be a financial.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
We have it in the memo.
Do you know the
So overall, actually, I don't know because we split it up over the fiscal year. So from March 2023 to June 2023, we know that it's going to be $650,000. So that's the rest of this year, starting people in April.
Yeah, so that's a 6 month with I'm sorry, what was the?
So for the rest of this fiscal year. Mhm.
Yeah. Can we project, so let's project that out
$650,000?
just so I wrap my brain around. What can we project that out for a year? What would that impact be in a year?
So that'll be about 1.8 to
Do you-
2
do you
million.
know,
Okay,
Laura?
about 2 million, got it.
I'm sorry.
And our current budget is 115. Sorry, I should have given you a heads up. I was gonna ask these questions.
Yeah.
So,
From a budget perspective, there is no budget impact
okay,
on this request. The numbers in terms of the funding, you'll have an opportunity to say yay or nay, right? And so you'll have all of the budgetary information, the financial information at that time when we decide to green light these particular positions. Of course, and that takes into consideration attrition, so there'll be some netting and so on and so forth. So do you know what the cost of one position is?
I don't have it in front of me, so I'll have to get back to you on that. However, do we have it here? Some of it here. But that's not a per position.
Yeah.
So I'll have to give that back to you on the individual cost. I will point out, however, for the RBS positions, the intent is actually to maintain the budgeted level of position. So one of the things you've experienced over the last several years is a higher attrition rate, and we've had salary savings. So we're budgeting, this is to allow us to have full staffing levels across the whole year. Not really, it's not intended to increase the total number of staffing, with the exception of the disability retirement specialists. Those would be additional permanent positions that we would expect to hire and keep on board. For the RBS, this is allowing us to just have the folks in training so that we have a fully allocated staff. So we'll have to get back to you on the individual cost, and we should have done a better job with that. So I apologize.
yeah, I fully understand the intention of it, but when the board's authorizing an increase in
Yeah.
ordinance and budgeted positions, there is a potential budgetary impact if we have, a wonderful 5-year period of not, filling, not having attrition, and we decide to fill those, which I wouldn't be opposed to, but we need to understand as a board, as a decision-making authority, what that impact is. So yeah, that in the future, that would be helpful. What it's sounding like to me is the potential budgetary impact would be $2 million if we fully staffed all of these items that were ordinanced. But if you can get back to us and let us know what that would be. And I think our annual budget's 115 about.
Yeah, I believe you're right. It's
Okay,
about
so
115 million.
yeah, so we're talking, a very small percentage of the overall budget, but we have to keep an eye on it because, 90% of our budget is personnel costs. So every
Correct.
time we add personnel we add the potential of increased growth of our budget, and we really got to keep an eye on that overall.
Yeah.
So those are my points, but yeah, if you can get back to the board.
Yeah, the annual cost would be about $1.9 million, but the individual cost per position, we can definitely get back to you.
Okay, yeah, and I'm less concerned about the individual impact. I'm looking at the overall budgetary impact potential if we filled all items. So I have Mr. Bernstein.
So a follow-up question and then another question. Our budget is 115. Our budgetary limit is based on the size of the pension, which is currently, I don't think, growing, which is actually just an interesting observation that as inflation impacts our costs, if the value of the trust isn't growing, we're actually coming closer inevitably to our budget cap. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So it's 21 basis points of, I forget what the base is. But we're well below that.
Got it. What is
7.
our roughly our current cap?
Oh, goodness. So sorry, I'm not prepared for that today.
I think the confusion is that we're working on the current budget. I'm sorry, it's off the liability. 21 basis points off the liability, not the
Okay.
assets. So I think what you're seeing is that we're caught between producing the budget this year and what we have for actually we're doing next year's budget now.
And I'm
so
not
it's-
trying to do gotchas.
Yeah.
However, we're spending $2 million likely. If we're supporting this, we're kind of committing to. So these are just
Well-
questions.
Well,
Yeah.
at this point, these positions are just authorized under the ordinance. We haven't authorized You haven't authorized us to fill any of those. So that would come as part of the budget process.
Got it. So my next question, did I understand you that this is going to the Board of Investments after it goes to
Correct.
us? I'm going to ask why. If it's not a budgetary impact, then I'm not sure why it's going to the Board of Investments.
Well, I believe because it's an ordinance item which does impact it does impact our budget eventually.
I'm not sure I
So,
buy that.
do you-
And I, as much as I respect and enjoy working with our colleagues on the Board of Investments, we've tried pretty hard to not pass along to them things that are not actually under their authority in the way that they don't pass along things to us. And it is, again, the flip side of Chair Keogh's questions. It is an eventual budget impact. This is not a budget item.
Mhm.
So it looks like Mr. Rice is prepared to jump in.
Yes, this is one of those areas where Cyril provides for joint authority by the Board of Investments and the Board of Retirement. The authority of both boards relates to both positions and, in other words, new classifications and the salary impact of those. So if we are requesting new ordinance numbers, which would be new positions, that has to go to the Board of Supervisors, which in turn under Cyril requires the approval of both boards.
Okay.
Thank you. And I'll ask that in a future board meeting, perhaps we can have a short presentation on, I understand the difference between budgeted and ordinance.
Right.
But I know all of us don't. So if we can please in the future do a presentation just so that the board is aware of what the difference
We
is
will-
between.
We will do that as part of the budget presentation.
Perfect. Okay.
So just to understand, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I imagine that these positions, it will be requested for these positions to be funded.
So if I can take that, again, the reason for the positions is to provide flexibility based on our attrition rate. So we may or may not request the full funding of those positions, but it allows us to be a little bit more predictable in terms of onboarding retirement benefit specialists in anticipation, with understanding that we have an attrition rate of 4 or 5% in any given year. So you may not see the full ask. It may be a percentage of that, and that's what we'll go over when we present our budget.
And is it possible because of the attrition rate that the total cost of salary of the employees can be less even if we fund these positions?
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Additional questions?
I'll move the item.
Been moved, I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, let's please vote.
Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Ms. Gray.
Yeah.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez.
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein, Mr. Keough.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. This moves us on to item C, which is the board officers seniority list. We have a memo dated February 23rd, 2023. And that was written by Mr. Fryman. And we can ask for any questions for this, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So if we can make the motion, I'll make that.
Ask it.
Go ahead.
So just to understand, give me some context here. And I understand the seniority in the officer positions, but why do we vote on this? Why is there a list here? Like,
So there.
Go ahead.
So I believe it was a year, maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, there was a policy that the board approved about how the selection of board officers would be done. And so as part of that, the policy, there's some language in the policy that says that if an individual who is a board officer decides to resign their position, then that individual would lose their seniority as part of their resignation. But the individuals that would assume the position would retain their seniority on the list for the selection of board officers. So Mr. Kehoe, for example, Mr. Robbins, for example, decided to resign his position as the chair Mr. Kehoe became the chair. So based on the policy, Mr. Robbins would lose his seniority and go to the bottom of the list, but he really he wasn't the chair very long. And so the body felt that it was not, and I don't want to speak for the board, but the board felt that they should revisit that particular portion of the policy so that they can restore the seniority for Mr. Robbins and for just for Mr. Robbins. And so that's sort of the way this evolved.
And Mr. Bernstein has.
I have a comment and then a question. My comment is I'm not supporting this because it happened early in the year. I'm going to support it because Mr. Robbins faced a life-threatening situation. That to me is an exigent circumstance. I really like our policy and I don't want people to have do-overs just because in January or February they feel like they'd rather be doing something different. This is a compelling specific circumstance. I think this is absolutely structured correctly, but I want to make sure in addition to Mr. Robbins moving out of the chair and Mr. Kehoe moving out of the secretary, Ms. Gray moved into the secretary, but I think the people who moved in are not losing anything by moving in. I just want to make sure we're not leaving her behind.
That is correct.
Okay.
Your observation is correct.
All right. I'll move the item.
Mr. Kehoe would also, his seniority as a secretary would also be restored.
So you'll move the item 1, right? And then as far as direction to staff, we don't make any changes to the policy. The policy is solid. This is just a very unique circumstance.
Perfect.
That is exact. Thank you for clarifying my motion. That is my motion.
Perfect.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Ms. Gray, Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. This moves on to item D, which is our CEO's compensation question. So since we're moving into that and we have Mr. Kryman here, I believe who would like to recuse himself. Yeah, Mr. Bernstein, did you?
Let's wait till he leaves. Although I always enjoy a good presentation from Dr. Natoya, the item is so simple and clear and well explained that I was simply going to move the item.
Perfect. I'll second it. Moved and seconded. Any questions or do we want anything from Dr. Natoya?
We don't want to hurt your feelings. So.
Yeah.
Good question. Unless I missed it, this is just on a go forward basis?
No, it's actually retro to July 2021.
Where does it say that?
The motion is effective July 1st.
Oh, there I see it now. Okay, I didn't see it down below. So I just want to make sure I wrap my head around this. So that was when the leased vehicle
Was returned.
was returned. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Ms. Gray.
Thing. I just read this and I said, $600 per month, that pays for gas. I mean, it just seems like it's a low amount.
Is gas, doesn't he have a card that covers gas, or is that 600 inclusive of everything having to do with the vehicle?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Well, we should know that.
I can answer that. That $600 is inclusive. So you either receive the vehicle, which includes the maintenance of the vehicle and the gas, or you receive the transportation allowance. So that's all personal costs that he may incur related to using a personal vehicle for his duties.
Got it. Okay, so the LACERA card does not fill up the gas. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Any additional questions?
I was just going to add one more thing.
Yep,
Just, and I know we're not a county department, but I know Mr. Kryman's contract in certain ways mirrors department heads in the county, and that's equivalent to what department heads get in the county. Okay.
Perfect. The item has been moved and seconded. So let's please vote.
Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
Mr. Keo.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Great, thank you. That moves us to our reports. And we have our, are these all information only?
Yes, they are.
Okay, all of our reports are information only. If there's no objection, we will move on to items for staff review.
I don't have any items.
Okay, no items, items for future agendas. That will be the request for a presentation on the ordinance versus budgeted positions. Okay, any additional items for future agenda? Hearing none, we will move along to go to the order, and I'll let you call out the order.
Very good. Mr. Knox.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. And again, I just wanted to thank staff and the team for all the effort on the offsite last week. I really did think it was excellent. I had a lot of takeaways. Thank you.
Ms. Gray.
Thank you. I would ditto Mr. Knox's comments with respect to the offsite. Additionally, I really wanted to thank our communications department and also whoever came up with the recognizing our member service accomplishments. And I got my postscript yesterday. And it was really good to see it. There's more than one member that was highlighted. And all of the members that are highlighted, really, there's a write-up about their background. And I thought that if no one ever read our postscript, it would cause our members to read the postscript because they want to see whose name is in here and how are they doing. So it was really well done. The other thing that I wanted to comment was our transparency. I think it's on the third page where we talked about the county lawsuit, and it listed very clearly what's going on, what happened, and what we plan on doing. And I think it let all of our members know how active we are with respect to how we run LACERA. And it also lets our members know that we are keeping with those promised benefits, particularly protecting our over $70 billion in funds or assets. So this was really well done. Shout out to everyone who participated in it. I really like seeing it. One more item. On the back page, there is a public service announcement, and it actually announces to all of our members, that's everybody in the county, how they can learn to apply advanced communication skills. It's actually a class that they can apply to. And I think it's wonderful because we can't always depend on our members to go to the county's open list. This just highlights something that they can do that is actually something that they can carry on beyond just being a member of LA County and LACERA. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Santos.
Good morning to everyone. Great job for the staff at the offsite. Appreciate the fact that we now are able to highlight our members. This is a reminder for all of us that we are here for the members. So this is wonderful, and we will continue to honor the tremendous work that county employees do and the reasons why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
I won't repeat everything, but I just want to thank everybody, everyone. This is the first time in this building, actually second time in a year. So I just want to thank everybody for being so welcoming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
I'll second that emotion. It is interesting to be here again. Most of us look about the same. Some of us have changed a little bit. I haven't grown any hair, as you can all see. So it is really nice to be back. Although this morning I'm thinking to myself, if I didn't have to get ready to come to LACERA, I could have gone to the gym first. But okay, I'll do that this afternoon. So it's very, very nice to be back and see everyone. I also agree. I think the offsite was excellent. So it was nice to get back into that saddle again, kind of feel like, okay, we're moving forward again. So thank everyone on staff and the board too. I know this has been difficult in these last 3 years, and everybody's really worked hard together, and it's nice to work in an organization that's has a collegial feel to it. And I really feel strong that this organization does mirror those attitudes. So thanks so much.
Mr. Bernstein?
Comments have been great. I want to apologize to Mr. Harris. I parked too close to him today. Parking in the LACERA parking lot is something I haven't really had to navigate for a few years. Karen. Anyway, but seriously, it brings me joy to look out at so many staff faces. You have been doing great work for 3 years. I've seen you in little virtual rectangles, and that's been good too. But it really fills my heart just to see your faces today. So I wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Santos Kryman.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank the trustees for the last 3 years. I know it's been difficult for staff, but I can just imagine how difficult it's been trustees that are very active, quite frankly. It was definitely a collaborative effort by the trustees and staff. So thank you for all of your support over the last 3 years. And we look forward to having in-person meetings moving forward. I did want to mention that I neglected to mention that during public comment, one of our members, Mr. Jordan, I believe, asked about the $1 million cap. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that we are in the process of preparing a memo to him to address his concerns. Just suffice it to say that we have been working, this board has made the elimination of $1 million cap a high priority for decades. And we engaged the County of Los Angeles, trying to figure out exactly how we get to that particular point where this board wants to be, which is eliminating the cap altogether, and because we believe it's in the best interest of all of our members moving forward. So we are in the process of like I said, collaborating with the Board of Supervisors, the CEO staff. We have our consultants meeting with their consultants to try to resolve this particular issue. And so we do plan on coming back to the Board of Retirement in a closed session to discuss next steps moving forward. So we just need to get some confirmation and some clarification on what the county intends on doing. And we'll let the board know what we're doing. So with that, I just want to say thank you to my staff for a good offsite, an excellent offsite. I learned a great deal as well. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Noli.
Okay, Chair Keogh.
Thank you. Agree with all the comments made, and offsite was amazing. And it was actually great last week doing the offsite, and then being here. The traffic this morning reminded me that we're back to real life again. So I appreciate that. Just so all the trustees are aware, they're going to be pushing out a survey for us on the offsite. So please do me a favor and complete them. It will be very beneficial for future planning, and we're going to be discussing the next offsite. So appreciate that. Also appreciate everybody's patience up here. I feel like an air traffic controller now with all of this stuff, trying to keep us from crashing. So that's that. And finally, I'll say I'm looking for, I know that we don't have our Instagram page, but I am looking forward to seeing this photo of us in person again for the next spotlights agenda that we get to the mail, something to highlight to the members that we're back here, we're functioning, and we're moving forward. So appreciate that. We will now go ahead and go to a 10-minute break, and we will come back at 10:10.
Recording stopped.